Khamzat Chimaev retiring with a win at UFC 319? Here's what Kaya Barajo has to say. I heard some people saying it. He has health problems and a lot of pressure from his country. He has a lot of money already. A lot. That's Kai Barajo of the Fighting Nerds saying that Khamzat Chimaev will retire with a win over Dricus du Plessis at UFC 319 in Chicago. Wow. What do you guys think? The last news Kai Barajo put out was Ben Askren had passed away. And then before that, it was other rumors about him versus Khamzat. Do we believe this rumor? What Kai had to say? I'm not too sure about it. Drop a comment, tell me what you think. Moving right along. Johnny Bones Jones is back in the news. And is he ever? Here's what he had to say yesterday. This is something he had to say to one of the fans on Twitter. The fan said, "You should be locked up." He said, "Instead of wasting your life energy wishing I was in jail, maybe use it to leave your mark on the world today. Try inspiring somebody." Just a thought. That's Johnny Bones Jones. Yesterday we reported some news on Johnny Bones Jones via MMA Fighting. Johnny Bones has been hit with new charges. Let me read to you exactly what the charges are. This is stemming from February Albuquerque case on a hit and run. So it's the same case, just an added charge. Here's the second case. A second charge was filed against John Jones with the same charge for leaving the scene of an accident, but this criminal complaint also featured a second charge for use of telephone to terrify, intimidate, threaten, harass, annoy, or offend. Once again, Johnny Bones Jones has new charges stemming from his hit and run case in Albuquerque in February 2025. Oh my. Johnny Bones is in a lot of trouble here, guys. A lot of trouble. But you know, John has lawyers and he can get out of all that stuff. Let's read some more of Johnny Bones. Here's what he had to say on Twitter yesterday. As of today, I was the last American champion. I was also the longest reigning champion this sport has ever seen. I was the youngest this sport has ever seen. I've beaten more champions than this sport has ever seen. When kids do homework assignments about the greatest fight ever, they're going to see my name. That's good stuff. So here's what John had to say to one of his fans on Twitter. They asked him if he's going to fight. Who knows what the future holds, but the moment I heard Donald Trump announcement, I started training. Johnny Bones Jones wants to fight at the White House in 2026. Conor McGregor wants to fight at the White House. 2026. Dana White and his staff was at the White House, and they're already planning the event. Let's get into what Dana White had to say. Dana White was on the Full Send podcast yesterday. We'll drop a couple clips in this video, and you guys can take a look at them. Here's what Dana White said about Johnny Bones Jones yesterday. Dana White confirmed John Jones did, in fact, re-enter the UFC drug testing pool, clearing the way for a UFC return in 6 months. 6 months from now, today is Friday, July 11th. Happy weekend, everybody. As soon as we're done with this video, we're going to hop in the Cybertruck and we're going to head to the beach. And we'll put some of that experience on our YouTube, so check out our YouTube. So once again, Dana White has confirmed that Johnny Bones Jones will most likely fight again. And he really wants to fight at the White House. And I don't blame him. The whole world will be watching that one. John said this yesterday. He says he doesn't even care who he fights at the White House. He just cares that he fights. He wants to be a part of that event, and I don't blame him. More on Dana White. Dana White told Full Send podcast yesterday in the Nelk Boys that his team has already been to the White House to figure out the logistics of the event. He says his team will present the initial plans to President Trump in the coming weeks, and they'll move forward with setting up this event. Wow. Dana White added this about the tickets. Dana White says he does not expect the tickets for the UFC White House event to be sold to the public, with all attendees to receive complimentary entries. I'm sure he's going to hook up all his friends. Hey, Dana, can we be friends? All right. Dana also says the UFC White House card event will be the baddest card of all time. Didn't he say that about UFC 300? I don't know, man. Dana White says his dream match for the White House UFC event is Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. He also added that both McGregor and Jones may finally fight on the same fight card. That would be awesome. Here's what John said about hearing Donald Trump. Donald made his announcement on the morning of the 4th of July. I called the UFC headquarters the very same afternoon. I'll leave it at that. Johnny Bones called the UFC and says, I'm coming back, baby. Wow. Unbelievable. All right. Here's what Dana White had to say about Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. This one was like, wow to me. Here's what he had to say. If Islam wins the title against JDM later this year, you immediately have a super fight with him and Ilia. Ilia, featherweight, lightweight champ. Islam, lightweight, welterweight champ. Man, that would be amazing. The question is, what weight class would they fight at, right? If Islam's 170 and Ilia's 155, what do they do? Where do they fight? Islam's not going to want to drop down weight. He's putting on all this muscle and working hard to get his new physique. Damn, I'd love to see that fight. I'll say it one more time, guys. Here's my 2 fights that I want to see in the next 6 months to a year. Because if you stretch them out too long, they're dated, right? The guys get older. Here's the 2 fights. Jones versus Aspinall. Ilia versus Islam. Those are the 2 fights I want to see. And if you add a third, I would like to see Ilia versus Paddy. That'd be a fun one. All right, here we go. And that's it. We'll add this last thing, right? We'll add this last thing before we go. A big shout out to Santos Studios for the merch. We got the Tempo, Blake Zilla outfit on, got the hat. And big shout out to Jackson Podcast. They put out a killer podcast yesterday. Butterbean, great podcast yesterday. Check it out on YouTube. And Daniel Cormier, always Daniel Cormier has something to say, right? Here's what DC had to say about his buddy, Johnny Bones Jones. Why are you playing with people's emotions, John? Don't keep rolling around playing with your emotions. You either fight or you hit the door. That is Daniel Cormier to John Bones Jones. DC sick of Johnny Bones? The fans are sick of Johnny Bones? Are you sick of Johnny Bones? Nah. Keep on coming, Johnny. Keep on coming. All right, fight fans, it's the weekend. It's Friday. Tomorrow you have UFC Nashville. UFC Nashville? You know what? Instead of leaving, let's go over some UFC Nashville picks real quick, all right? Let's pull it up right quick. I do know this. I do know the main event is going to be an absolute banger. It may last like 30 seconds, a minute, but it's going to be a banger. 8-0 Teixeira versus Lewis. Talison Teixeira. That guy is a beast. Let's run down. Let's just go main card. Yeah, let's go. Let's see what we've got here. All right, we'll start at this fight here. We'll start at this one. Fatima Klein versus Melissa Martinez. Let's see what we got here. Fatima is a minus 1,200. Martinez plus 750. We'll take Klein. Mitch Ramirez versus Mike Davis. I'm going to go with Mike Davis, baby. Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Walter Walker. I'm going with the underdog. I'm going with Walker. The Walker brothers, baby. Johnny and Walter. I'm going with Walker. Lauren Murphy returns versus Eduarda Mora. I'm going with Eduarda Mora, man. I like it. Her youth, her style. I'm going with Eduarda. She's a pretty lady. Jake Matthews versus Chidi Njokuani. I'm going with Jake Matthews on this one. Chidi is a minus 148. I'm going with Matthews. Max Griffin versus Chris Curtis. I got to go with my boy Max Payne Griffin on this one, guys. Junior Tafa versus Tuka Tokos. I'm going with Tafa, baby. Vitor Petrino versus Austin Lane. I'm definitely going with Petrino on this one. Definitely. Definitely. I saw Austin Lane. The last fight was great, but he got knocked out cold. I got Vitor. Nate, the Train Landwehr versus Morgan Chareri. I'm gonna have to go with Nate the Train on this one. I'm torn. I like Morgan. I like Nate. I'm gonna go with Nate on this one. What do you guys think? Calvin Kattar returns versus Steve Garcia. I gotta go with my boy Steve Garcia on this one. Wonderboy versus Bonfim. I gotta go with Wonderboy on this one. I know he's a heavy underdog, but I'm going with Wonderboy. One last run, baby. Derek the Beast Lewis versus Taliesin Teixeira. Listen, Taliesin is a minus 280. The Black Beast is a plus 210. Go what my gut tells me, man. I'm going with Taliesin Teixeira. I got to go with him. Youth, size. I mean, I know Lewis is bigger, probably has, the hardest punch, maybe, but I got to go with my boy Taliesin Teixeira on this one. Definitely Taliesin Teixeira. Yep. Great set of fights tomorrow. They're ESPN. I'm going to watch them. Today's Friday, July 11th. We're going to head to the beach. We got our Santos Studios new glasses in. Check them out. There you go. The logo on there. Polarized. And that's about it, guys. Big shout out to our friends over at Santos Studios, Bear, Jackson Podcast, for setting us up with some very nice clothes. And thank you, fans, for watching my show. Keeps getting better from here. I'm Chris, MMA Uncensored. Have a great weekend. Maybe we'll catch you Saturday night after we post the results of all the fights. Because every UFC event, every single one, we're going to post the winners, winner posters, and exactly what happened on the fight and highlights on our Twitter page. Every single event. We post on Facebook, Instagram as well, but our Twitter is off the chain on fight night. So check us out on socials, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and we got some cool content coming next week. Take care, fight fans.